Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 749 for the 13th of March. And gonna start off with the frontline changes report. And before I start, I want to say that yeah, I'm kind of giving up on fighting this YouTube war. Apparently it's just not possible because the YouTube algorithm just massively favors bigger channels, and despite the video have very good click-through rate and a very pretty good duration, watch duration and everything, it just doesn't go. The YouTube just doesn't push it. The impression number is very low, so the videos just don't do well. Then so basically I'm not going to put much more priorities on the Ukraine war. I will continue to report because so many of you guys depend and trusted me on this. I will continue to report, but it's just that no, I'm not going to double down on trying to do my best in terms of trying to post many things, like putting a lot of effort into breaking up the videos and everything, because it's just pointless. The YouTube just don't support. So what I'm going to do, I will be focusing a lot more on geopolitics, but Ukraine war will definitely still continue reporting. I just want to let you know, I just going to just record whatever I want to record. I just want to say whatever I want to say. I just going to do whatever I want to do in terms of the Ukraine war report. I'm not going to bend over for this YouTube algorithm anymore, because it's just pointless, because it doesn't matter what I do. It's purely dependent on the subscriber count and also dependent on whether the YouTube algorithm favors you or not. So DPA, as many of you guys may already know, usually don't get favored by YouTube. So I just gonna make do and do whatever I want to do, and yeah, that's less stressful because it's just not possible to fight the algorithm anymore. So I go to reduce or probably eliminate all the double posting, and I probably will not be doing delayed telecast for the Ukraine war on the main channel anymore. I will probably do dual posting, maybe just to reach people and get them to come over to this to the war channel, and yeah, or maybe not, but we'll see how this goes. But anyway, start off with the frontline changes report. And we're going to go in the clockwise direction. We start off with the at the Belgorod Front. So there is a geolocation just on the edge of the border where the Russians airstrike Ukrainian forces just off Zhuravlevka. So the Ukrainian forces was trying to attack in this area here, and they got struck by the Russian airstrike. So so this simply means that there is no Russian forces right at the border region. So yeah, so it still constitutes some kind of frontline change because the Ukrainians are there and the Russian forces are not. So tentatively, we will leave this as such. And the next frontline change is over at Terny, which is at this Kreminna Front. So this is Kreminna city, and this is Terny. So at the Terny, previously we have already reported this frontline change with the Russian forces taking this area here. This is a Russian claim. This time around, we have some kind of corroboration from the Ukrainian mapping. Deep State UA have actually acknowledged this frontline changes, and they have acknowledged the Russian push in this area here. The extent of the push is not as far as the Russian claims. So if I zoom in a bit, the Russian claims the entire thing, whereas the Ukrainians only confirm up to here. Everything else over here is actually gray zone. So it's really up to interpretation. And so that's all from the Terny region. The other frontline change is over at the Avdiivka Front at Pervomaiske. So after yesterday's report, so this is Pervomaiske, and in case you do not know, this is Avdiivka, this is Donetsk city, and so Pervomaiske is over here. And yesterday, we already reported the Russians have taken this ground based on the geolocation. And Deep State UA has basically extended this to this point, just off this Novomykhailivka Stavok, or the lake. The new Avdiivka lake. So basically, the Russian forces have taken more grounds around here, and this basically means that the Russian forces have now reached basically the town center at Pervomaiske, which is where you see the churches, the school, the gas station, and of course all the shops, which clearly no one uses anymore. This is just a frontline settlement. So after this area has been taken, the next will be going to Netelove. So this is basically yeah, pretty much towards the end of the Battle of Pervomaiske, probably in a month or two, depending on how much the Ukrainians want to hold this position. So that's all from the Pervomaiske. The other frontline change is further in the southwestern part over at Georgievka. In the northern part of Marinka, this is Marinka, this is Georgievka. In this northern area here, this is actually claimed by the Russian forces, by Russian mapping. So they claim that the Russian forces have expanded control across the entire field, as well as these few tree lines around here. And then the fighting is currently in these two areas here, as well as in the settlement within the Georgievka region. So we'll continue to monitor. Russians are also pushing in this direction, just in case you do not know, just that the frontline change is over in the northern part. So we will continue to monitor and see how this goes. For this area here, the Russian forces' main target clearly is to establish the border or the front line along the water body. This is usually what the Russians like to do. So we'll definitely see the Russians pushing in this kind of direction. And then over at the Georgievka itself, there is a geolocation of a TOS-1A strike. The fact that the strike appears over here means that the Russian claims over this area here can't possibly be true, because there will be a radius of area that everything will be killed. So that means the Russians are not there. The Russians are probably still a bit of a distance off, at least half a kilometer away or more. So probably just off the lake region. But anyway, we invalidated just some part of it. We will continue to monitor how this progress, and over at the Georgievka region. The last frontline change is over at Novomykhailivka. So just south, so Georgievka is over here. This is Novomykhailivka. At Novomykhailivka, in the northeastern part of Novomykhailivka, the Russian forces have taken this tree line over here. This comes after the Russian forces has been detected to be attacking in the northern flank over here, and it seems like the Ukrainian forces have been pushed out in this area here, and the Russians have taken positions across the entire front line. This is actually mapped by the pro-Ukrainian side, Deep State UA's mapping. So this is actually confirmed capture by the Russian side. So that's all for the frontline changes report. And we're going to move on to the strategy and tactical reporting. First thing first, one of these viral news was the destruction of two Ukrainian Mi-8 transport helicopter over in Novomykhailivka. So this is actually reported and published by the Russian Defense Ministry. The video footage, let me put the video footage up. So based on the video footage, as you can see, so you can see this is a cluster attack. The cluster munition attack, people say that it missed, but I just want to highlight, okay, this is where the main strike came. It could be an artillery strike, it could be a missile strike. I'm not exactly sure, but it is some kind of a super accurate strike. So super accurate. I think the round seems to be rather big. So I'm not sure what kind of missile or projectile is that. Personally, I do not know that enough. But I want to highlight about this part. So in this part where the three helicopters are still around, you can see the cluster munition strike. And of course, clearly, two of them was kind of under this cluster strike. And so my theory of why this happened is that the cluster munition set off fragments. All these fragments create very small holes or damages. It doesn't kill the helicopter per se. It might not necessarily even kill the personnel on the ground. As you can see, there's this, you might not be able to see actually. You can go to DPA archive to look at this. There is people running actually. So he wasn't even taken out. But the reality is that what happens is that all these small little shrapnels would actually disable or damages the helicopter to the point where the helicopter become dangerous to even fly. So because we do not know what the shrapnels actually cuts into the helicopter. It could be some wiring and whatnot. So the helicopters are basically stranded due to this cluster munition strike. And one of them probably managed to escape this cluster strike, so he managed to fly away, which is why when the actual strike comes, there was actually only 2 helicopters left. One of them was undamaged and it flew away. The other 2 was damaged due to the cluster munition strike, and then they can be now taken out with an accurate strike and totally destroy the helicopter, to not allow the Ukrainians to even repair it. So because just the shrapnel alone is not enough, the Ukrainians can still probably repair it, but the fact that it was taken out through the actual strike, the actual precision strike, so it means that the helicopter is now permanently disabled. So but one of them managed to get away, and so I just want to explain why there might be a cluster munition strike at the beginning, so that helps to it's like you play the RPG games, right? You play the computer games, or you play multiplayer games where you have one guy casting a spell, freezing the enemy to not let it move, and then that allows the more powerful character that can be do melee or range strike to actually take out the enemy, while the enemy was actually freezed and not moving. So that is the tactic. So RPG, you play computer games will make you a better military commander. So anyway, okay, so that's all for this news, and and then we move on to the Southern Front. At the Southern Front, there is not much news over here. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry talks about this. As you can see, the Russians does not give up intention to dislodge their units from the bridgeheads on the left bank. Left bank is the southern bank of the Dnieper River. So they say the Russians launched a few assaults. So this, we do not know where they actually meant. So as usual, I always put it at crinky. So for those that do not know how to count left or right bank, the left and right depends on the flow of the river. If you stand facing the direction of the river flowing, that means it's flowing out to the sea in front of you. So then on your left is the left bank, on the right is the right bank. So that's how it works. So which is why they don't always just say north, south, east or west, because rivers can actually do this kind of snaking movement. So everywhere is north, south, east, west. So so this is how they go left and right bank. So this is something I learned in this conflict while reporting this Ukraine war. We move on over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, there's 2 main things happening. One is Melnivka. The Russians are attacking Melnivka. I don't think there's something major. And then the other part is the Heorhiivka salient. So at the Heorhiivka salient, the Russian forces is still on the offensive, with fighting being reported at Verbove, in the western part of Verbove, as well as Robotine. However, if you look at Ryba report, the pro-Russian side report, they say that it is the Ukrainians that's trying to attack and try to take out the Russians from the southeastern part of the settlement. Why southeastern part? So the Ukrainians are on the offensive according to the Russians, and because according to the Russians, or at least the Russian sources, the Russian forces currently only have firm control over on this southeastern part of Robotine, and the Ukrainian forces had actually went straight down to even cause problems with the heavy entrenchment in the southern part of Robotine, and the Ukrainian forces are trying to take out the Russian forces and kick them out of Robotine entirely. Tentatively, this has not happened just yet. The Ukrainians have been trying for some time, and so we shall continue to see how this progress. I think it is a bit difficult for the Ukrainians because of the forest or the tree plantation around this area here. So the Russian forces, entrenching in these kind of areas will make it a lot harder to kick out of, so the Ukrainians can attack. But there is a lot of entrenchment around here. I think a lot of them is actually built by the Ukrainians. So we will continue to monitor and see how this progress is turning out to be a real drag in this front line in the Zaporizhzhia region. The Melnivka one is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They did not mention much. They simply say that they inflict losses on the manpower and hardware of the Ukrainian forces, and basically it's the 2 and the 128 Territorial Defense Brigade. They stationed over in this area here, and the Russians basically bombarded it. So as I mentioned, it's not a real assault to capture the settlement. As many of you guys would have already known, if you're following me for a long time, I already mentioned the Russian strategy right now isn't exactly about capturing ground. It's more about demilitarization, which means that they establish kill boxes and they kill any Ukrainian forces that is trying to go through or try to attack. And if they don't come, then the Russians will start to just strike them and in position. So it is a very difficult war for the Ukrainians. I have no idea how they're going to win this war. So over at the Donetsk Front, so this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, there is, I usually break this into a few sectors. This is the Velika Novosibirsk sector. Let's call this the Voleda sector. And then we have the Marinka sector. So break into these 3 sectors. Previously, I break this into 2, but I find it a bit hard to name this one. So let's just call this the entire area of Voleda sector. And in this entire front line, the Russian forces are on the offensive. They have the initiative with fighting reported at Priodny, Staromayorsky, Uruzhaine, at Novodonetsk in the south of Zolota Neva, Shevchenko, Novomykhailivka, at Georgievka, as well as Krasnohorivka. So the Russian forces are making a lot of push, particularly over in the Velika Novosibirsk sector and the western part of Voleda sector. So there is a lot of push, and particularly the situation over at this Novodonetsk seems to be really interesting because Deep State UA mentioned about Novodonetsk, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned south of Zolota Neva. It could be, of course, talking about the same places, but this fighting over in this area always fascinates me. I always find it very interesting, but it never turned out to be something more. And Staromayorsky continues to be very more corroborative. Both Russian and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry both mentioned about the fighting at Zaporizhzhia. So there must be something big happening over there or something bigger happening over there, but we do not know what it is. So we will continue to wait and see how this goes. Over the Marinka sector, the Russian forces have taken more grounds in the northeastern part of Novomykhailivka. They are pushing the north, and the Ukrainians actually did try to counterattack. In fact, we have a footage of the Ukrainian tank trying to attack the Russian positions. There was 2 days ago. We have actually reported the geolocation. So the Ukrainian tank actually progress. They just drive towards the front line, and then at this very moment, it got hit by an anti-tank guided missile. Hit faster. You got hit. Okay. You got hit. Let me again. So yeah, you can see the hit, and it did not kill the crews. The crew actually managed to survive. The crew started to run away. So the crew, they quickly unloaded from the tank, and then the tank exploded by a second strike, causing a burnout, and then the crews basically run away into cover, and basically the tank was destroyed. So and then came a third strike. So the third strike is a FPV drone strike. So that's it for this this attack, and you can see that the tanks has become really, really weak in modern warfare, and I think this applies to basically tanks from any country. It could be Russian, it could be NATO. So I think the situation for the future of tanks needs to be revisited. How they actually redesign the tank. How do they survive in an environment where there is such agile anti-tank weaponry? Not just an anti-tank guided missile, which requires a line of sight. You can have drones that basically do not require a line of sight to actually hit it. So, you can see from all these footages, tanks are really getting very, very vulnerable. And moving up over the Georgievka region, the Russian forces have taken more grounds in the northern part of Georgievka, expanding control, taken some of this tree line. The objective is the water body, which will allow the Russians to create a very strong defense line in the north of Georgievka. The Russian forces are also continuing to push at Georgievka, but they have not stormed the center of Georgievka just yet because the Ukrainians have been defending well, and as you can see, the Russians actually use the thermobaric missiles to actually hit the Ukrainian forces within Georgievka. So the So which means that the Ukrainians still have very firm control at the center part. The Russians are still, holding ground, and instead they push north, expanding the control, while the Russians are still trying to establish a firm foothold within Krasnohorivka, in the southern part of Krasnohorivka. So the battle is still ongoing in this region here. We'll continue to monitor and see how these progress in this frontline region. And that's all from the Donetsk Front. Moving into the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Ukrainian forces actually have the initiative over in the BOT region, the BOT region, Berdyansk, Olivka, and Tonenki. So Ukrainian forces are attacking over at Novomykhailivka to Stepove, at Berdyansk, over at Olivka and Tonenki. Russian forces are counter-attacking at Berdyansk, Olivka, and Tonenki. They are doing an offensive operation over at Pervomaiske, as well as trying to expand their zone of control over at Nevelske. So the Nevelske capture is still not corroborated just yet by the Ukrainian side, although the Ukrainians reported that the Russians are making life very difficult over there, over at Nevelske. Pervomaiske itself, the Russians are making good progress. It looks like because of the Ukrainian focus over at the BOT region, the BOT region, so the Russians are making good progress over at Pervomaiske. So maybe the defenders has been drawn over to fight over the BOT region, so the Russians are making good progress down the Pervomaiske region, and I think this would be a massive mistake if that's the case, if the Ukrainian forces reduce the manpower in Pervomaiske to focus on BOT, because if they focus on BOT, then this will create a strategic conundrum for the Ukrainian forces if the Russians have secured Pervomaiske and Vodian region, and then they will be able to attack through Netolove, Krasnohorivka, and go back into the rear of Umansky, and that will just cause the entire BOT line to collapse. So over the BOT line, the information from the Russian Defense Ministry simply reported that the Ukrainians are on the offensive, whereas Deep State UA says that the Russians are the one that is putting pressure on the Ukrainians. But as far as I can tell, I think the Ukrainians are the ones that is actually on the offensive. So the Ukrainians are pushing in a lot, particularly over at the Novomykhailivka and Stepove region. They are trying to hit the rear positions to force the Russians to withdraw from Berdyansk, from the eastern outskirts of Berdyansk. The Ukrainians still have most of Berdyansk region, and whereas over at Olivka region, the Russians are the one that have most of it. The Ukrainians are putting pressure on the Russians. Similarly, at the Tonenki region, I expected the encirclement or Operation Encirclement to actually take out Tonenki, but it did not happen. The Ukrainian forces continue to put good pressure, managed to hold Tonenki for up to now. So it has been more than a week now, I guess. So the Russian forces still have not secured the BOT. So yeah. I hear a lot of hope coming from the pro-Russian side about this. A lot of people say that I'm becoming very pro-Ukrainians, but I find it ridiculous because you guys should have known me by now that no, I don't take sides. And the Ukrainians are doing well. Obviously, they are still here. You can see that. Then I know the pro-Russians then started to say no, because the Russians are not about capturing ground. It's about eliminating and destroying Ukrainian forces. Demilitarizing them. I also know. But then might as well don't attack, right? Might as well stay at the Avdiivka city. Why the hell you go and attack Berdyansk or Olivka? There's no need to do that. The Ukrainians are going to come. So they did not. But the Russians went on the offensive, and they are expected to have captured Berdyansk, Olivka, and Tonenki, the BOT, but they did not. And then the Ukrainians counter-attack. Now they become a conundrum. So all these are cope. Don't cope. And if you want to press dislike, I don't give a fuck now. I already told you I don't give a damn about the Ukraine war reporting right now. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And I'm not going to care about the algorithm, the views, and whatnot. So, take it, leave it, Yeah. If you want your cope, go to watch Military Summary, go and watch, Whip Union. I don't care. I don't fucking care anymore. So go and watch them. And so that's all for this area here. And go over to New York. At the New York Front, it went quiet. There's nothing over here. We move into the Bakhmut Front. So this is Bakhmut city. And the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front, we have the usual, when you buy food, right? You go to the shop that you go to eat every day. You just tell the auntie or the uncle, "Hey, bro, I just want my usual." This is what you get: Klishevka, Andrievka, as well as Kupyansk. So this is the usual thing. There's basically nothing to report around here. Other than yesterday, I did mention, a lot of people might not have caught it, is that there is two of the Ukrainian soldiers surrendering to the Russian soldier. The one Russian soldier escorted 2 Ukrainian soldiers over at this area here, which actually feels like the Russians actually have a firm control over in this northern part of Klishchiivka, given how slow they are walking, how relaxed they are. So yeah, good luck to the 2 POWs. Hopefully they have a good life ahead. In the northern flank of the Bakhmut Front, Russian forces are attacking Donetsk in the eastern part of Chasiv, as well as Ivaniske. So tentatively, not much change. I just want to highlight again the Ukrainians using east of Klishchiivka, east of Chasiv, and I think this is actually indicative of their acknowledgement of the deteriorating situation in this front line. But still, I find it extremely pointless for the Ukrainians, for the Russians to actually push in the Chasiv direction. But if they do whatever they want to do, I'm not the Russian commander. That's all for the Bakhmut Front. We move into the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, there is one report of Russians attacking Verkhovno-Ukryamsky. Verkhovno-Ukryamsky, this is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They mentioned Verkhovno-Ukryamsky in their morning report. So otherwise, there is a Russian airstrike over at Fedorivka. So this confirms Ukrainian presence over at Fedorivka still. So there's nothing particularly interesting over in this front line. The Russians did not attack Belgorod in this past 24 hours, after the fighting over here has been reported non-stop for quite a number of days. So we will continue to monitor the Siversk Front. Over at the Kreminna Front, we still have combo number 1. Russian forces attacking Terny and Zhuravlevka, and the front line change is now 80% acknowledged by the Ukrainian mapping. So that's about it. According to Deep State UA, they did mention a bit more. They say that the Russians are showing significant effort to advance towards these villages, but was not successful. So we will continue to see how this progress over in this front line. Moving up north, at Svatove Front, there is fighting reported as Novomykhailivka. So this is Novomykhailivka, this is Svatove. And at the Novomykhailivka, there is reports from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioning Novomykhailivka, with Russians probably attacking in this direction or in this area of Novomykhailivka. So no, I don't think this is going to be much. There's always been reports of fighting at Novomykhailivka for like forever, but nothing changes over there. And we move into the Kupyansk Front. So this Kupyansk city and this is Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces are reportedly attacking Sinkivka, Terbaivka, and something new, Peshcho-Trevneve. So we haven't have a report of fighting in the Peshcho-Trevneve region since 11 December. So this attack in this area is very interesting. So we will continue to monitor and see if this is a sustained offensive. But clearly, this line is very difficult for the Russians to break. So in this area here in Peshcho-Trevneve and Olyansky region, the Ukrainian forces have actually a very, very strong line all down to Ivanivka. So the Russian forces have actually made a lot of push in this area previously, which is why they gave up, which is why we haven't seen any fighting in this area here for 3 to 4 months already. So at least 3 months already. So no, so which is why another attempt in this area here is interesting to me. So, but everything is interesting. When things are so routine, even watching the paint dry is interesting. So that's just how it is. And we move on to the final front over at the Belgorod Front. So at the Belgorod Front, the Ukrainian forces main offensive, the main punch have failed spectacularly. And like I mentioned before, a lot of people say no, this shouldn't be called an offensive. But I have to qualify. A failed offensive is still an offensive. So no, this is an offensive. It's not a raid. The previous Belgorod raid a few months ago or half a year ago, that was a raid, because that was just they sent in like a few companies or forces with fast moving vehicles and armored vehicle, those what do you call Max Pro kind of armored vehicle. It's just speed. They storm into Russian territory as fast as they can in a sudden attack, and then they try to create chaos. But no tanks was involved, no heavy artillery was involved. This time around is different. They use tanks, and then they have artillery support. So this is actually more serious. This is actually offensive, especially the scale. Previously, there was only just one location. There's one break, because it's a raid. This time around, there was a coordination. There's a coordinated attack across multiple locations, and this attack did not work out. But it is an offensive. At this moment, the latest information that we do have is that the fighting is still ongoing at Kozinka. So at Kozinka is actually at this Velika Pasarivka region with the push towards Greveron. So Greveron is over here. So this is actually the main push, and the fighting currently is still at Kozinka. Basically the border village. The Ukrainians did not even progress much. And according to Russians information, according to Ryba, they say that the Ukrainian forces have still forces gathering, particularly over at Popivka as well as Velika Pasarivka. As mentioned, Greveron is where they are trying to create this massive diversion. At least that's what I think, a massive diversion, because if they capture this area, it's kind of pointless. This is not very useful. But of course, there was some claims because there's a major military base around, I think around in this area here. Allegedly here, in this area here, this is where they keep a lot of ammunition during the Cold War. So the claim was always that the Ukrainians are trying to reach this area here and are trying to get supplies, like when you play computer games, this is a crate, or the treasure, so that you open, you can actually get more supplies. Clearly, I don't think there's any more supplies over there. I'm quite sure the Russians have evacuated or moved everything away. So I don't think that's the objective. I think the objective is still Belgorod, but they can't break through, so it's rather pointless. The fighting over at this Nekotivka region has failed. Video footage of this failed attack has came out. You can actually check out the DPA Telegram. I've posted the video there. So they did not even get past the border per se. And there is, however, a geolocation of a Russian airstrike just south of Nekotivka at Zhuravlevka. And this strike basically shows that the Ukrainians actually did try to attack towards Zhuravlevka as well, and while they are pushing towards Nekotivka. But however, this breakthrough at Nekotivka failed. So then with this airstrike, I think the Ukrainian forces just gave up. They just go home, because ultimately human waves don't exist in modern warfare, or in fact any warfare. Everybody just want to save their life. If they feel that it's kind of pointless, why run towards the enemy and die? So anyway, that's all for the Belgorod Front. I believe that's all. So that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 749 for the 13th of March. Yeah, so basically, I'm just not going to give a damn about the people who said that the video is too long. Now 32 minutes, that's basically a DPA standard video. So, I'm not going to conform anymore to you guys talking shit about the video is too long or whatnot. If you want a short videos, go and watch other people. I don't give a fucking damn anymore. So Ukraine is a huge war. There is a lot of front lines. If you're not interested in certain front line, you can skip the part. But that is what it is. That is what all it is. So if other channels don't cover everything, that's up to them. In DPA, this is a situation report. We report everything. That's basically how a situation report is supposed to be. It's not a headline highlight report. And I don't really like to do this kind of highlight report, because it basically it forces you to look into a very narrow view, whereas like something important is happening elsewhere in other front line, but somehow everybody got distracted by some very shiny frontline actions. So it is what it is, and I'm just not going to conform anymore, because it's just very tiring to keep up with the algorithm, keep up with the competition. It's kind of pointless. I just got to do whatever I want, and then you just going to watch if you want to watch, and because ultimately I have the hardcore supporters to thank, because they trusted me and have faith in me, so I'm going to just work for them. For the rest, Yeah, if you just want to hype, you are a war fan, you just want to know the tastiest bit, go and watch other people. Okay, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next update.